Hello chaps, welcome to John Robson Guitar Tuition once again. As always, I do hope you're well. Now then, as seasoned guitar wielding YouTube viewers, I'm sure we're all aware of a certain YouTube channel connected with a well-known musical instrument retailer that do a series of videos about how you can get a gigging rig, guitar, amp, etc. without busting the bank. And the budget they usually set for said rig is around £1,500, which admittedly isn't a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. However, it is a lot of money if you are a 19-year-old university student looking to get into your first band. Which brings me to the topic of today's video. One of my guitar students, who is a 19-year-old university student looking to get into his first band, sent me this email.
Hi John, was wondering if you could give me some advice, mate. I've been asked to join my uncle's band that he plays drums in. Their guitarist has left and my uncle's heard me play and says I'm good enough to play with them, but I've only got a Squire Strat and 10 amp practice speaker. What stuff do it need to play some gigs? Their music is all guitar rock, Stereophonics, Green Day, Kings of Leon, Echt. They've got 500 to spend.
I mean, obviously he's not studying English at university, that goes without saying. You know, he's a nice lad though, and I felt sort of duty bound to help him out. I mean, largely because, frankly, he is going to need rock and roll to fall back on as a career if that's how he's going to be filling out job applications when he graduates. But, enough of that. So, basically he's got 500 quid to spend, and I actually rang him and had a bit of a conversation with him after that email, and this is what I sort of gathered about his requirements for a gigging rig. Right, so he wants a Strat style guitar because this is what he's familiar with. He's got a Squire Bullet Strat at the moment, which is the real entry level bottom rung of the ladder, part of the Squire range. It's sort of one below the Affinity series. It's a nice enough guitar for what it is, but he could definitely do with some kind of upgrade for getting up on his hind legs in front of an audience. He described the sound that he wanted as being a fatter sound, a more rock sound. So to my mind that means that he's looking for a humbucker tone. So we're looking at a Strat that's got a humbucker in the bridge position, basically, I would think. It would also be nice if the guitar was worth upgrading later if need be, you know, better pickups, better hardware, that kind of thing. Also, we need a decent sounding amp that's loud enough to gig with, something louder than his 10 amp practice speaker, as he called it, which I'm assuming is a 10 watt practice amp. We need clean and dirty tones for the different types of sound that he's going to have to cover, and obviously he's going to need to be able to foot switch between those. And we need to do all of this on a budget of £500 that he's saved up. Now I know what you're thinking. There are already some people shouting at their screens saying, yes, but what about pedals? You need a chorus pedal and a delay pedal, and a compressor would be good, and you definitely need a wah pedal and maybe a different overdrive pedal, and etc, etc. No, you don't, frankly. Those things are all nice to have in the fullness of time, but are you really going to turn down your first gig in a band simply because you haven't got a bunch of pedals? Of course you're not. And you know, if you're playing Basket Case or Sex on Fire down at the Dog and Trumpet on a Friday night for a bunch of people who are there to guzzle some beer and have a boogie, they're not going to care that your clean sound doesn't have any chorus on it, frankly. So we're just dealing with getting the lad up and running at the moment, and we don't really need to worry too much about pedals. As long as we've got a usable rhythm guitar sound and a usable lead guitar sound that's loud enough to gig with, then that's all we're looking for at this stage. So I think it's about time we went shopping for a guitar first of all. Right then, here's the first contender, the Yamaha Pacifica 012 in black, which costs £155. What specs has it got? Well, obviously we can see it's humbucker and 2 single coils. Yeah, Just skim reading this. Crafted with beautiful tone woods. A little bit scant on information there. Oh, and this has just leapt out at me as well. Ceramic pickups. Yeah, I mean, there are some decent sounding ceramic pickups. You know, the Seymour Duncan Hot Rails and the DiMarzio Super Distortion, but generally speaking, on a sub £200 guitar, the reason why they're putting ceramic pickups in is a cost saving. They're fine, but they're not ideal, you know. It also kind of doesn't worry me, but it's a little bit curious that they're not saying what timbers it's made out of. I mean, the neck is maple, obviously. No idea what the fretboard's made from. Probably some kind of rosewood substitute. Might even be rosewood, we don't know. There's no information. Right, moving on to the next one. We've got the Harley Benton ST70 Black Paisley, which is staggeringly cheap, 130 quid, essentially, in round figures. Yeah, I can imagine that Paisley pattern finish is going to divide opinion. But yeah, we've got more information here about the construction. We've got basswood body, maple neck, and an oven coal fretboard. Oven coal is a close relative of rosewood and shares many of its traits, really, in terms of tonal attributes. This is interesting though. Pickups: 2 Roswell STA Alnico 5 vintage ST style single coils, and 1 Roswell HAF Alnico 5 humbucker. Definitely a step up in quality from the ceramic pickups that you would get on the Yamaha. We also get a push-pull coil split on this, which there was no mention of that on the Yamaha. Yeah, that, I would say, providing you can live with that finish, is probably a stronger contender. Now, he's already playing a Squier bullet strat, so I thought we might as well check out a Squier of some description. This is the next level up from the Bullet series, the Affinity series, and it's the HSS Affinity Strat in slick silver. What does it say? 2 single coil Strat pickups and a standard humbucker. Yeah, no mention of Alnico there, which means that they are going to be once again ceramic pickups. Older body though, that's, you know, a decent timber. It's certainly more information than we got on the Yamaha, and we've actually got a rosewood fingerboard, not NATO or oven coal or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, it's a contender certainly, but it's a lot dearer. It's essentially another 50 quid dearer than the Harley Benton. As I say, it depends whether you can live with that wacky finish on the Harley Benton. I think it looks quite nice actually, but I can imagine that other people might not share that opinion. Okay, when it comes to budget amps that sound good, I guess the one that everybody's talking about these days is the Boss Katana range. Now then, if you're going to be playing pub and club gigs with a solid state amp, you might get away with a 50 watt amp. A 50 watt valve amp would be absolutely fine. As the old adage goes, valve watts are louder. It's certainly been my experience as well. But a solid state 50 watt amp might be okay, but just let's have that margin of safety there and say we need a 100 watt amp. The Boss Katana 100 costs $299, and like all amps, it doesn't come with the accompanying foot switch. You've got to shell out another 85 quid for that, meaning that by the time we add on the cost of the guitar, we're going to be over budget, so we're ruling out the Boss Katana. It's a fantastic amp, but it's just slightly above our price range. So, I mean, another reason why I'm a little bit reluctant to recommend that amp is because I've never tried one, and you know, I don't know what it's like to gig with. How robust is it when it's kind of rattling around in the back of a rusty transit van going to and from gigs? I have no experience of that. The amp that I do have experience of playing with in such situations, and which is within budget, including the foot switch, is this one. The venerable PV Bandit 112. An amp that often gets overlooked and disregarded whilst everybody's talking about the latest new kid on the block modelling amp, or some new lunchbox sized valve amplifier that can apparently fill a stadium. All the while, this little workhorse PV is turning in a sterling performance on stages the length and breadth of the country. And it's only 315 quid. You'll definitely find one cheaper than that if you're prepared to buy a used one. And frankly, I wouldn't have any problem at all buying a used PV amplifier. They have a legendary reputation for reliability. The damn thing will probably work underwater if you needed it to. Factor in the cost of the foot switch, another 34 quid, and you've spent in total less than 350 quid on a decent sounding amp that's loud enough to gig with, which is what we set out to achieve. Some other features on that PV Bandit 112 are, as well as having the two channels, clean and dirty, you've got different voicings on each channel. So for instance, on the overdrive channel you can set it to behave like a mildly overdriven Fender amp, giving you a Texas blues kind of tone, or you can go to a different voicing, I think it's called modern, where you can have an insane hardcore metal overdrive sound, and there's a similar feature on the clean channel as well. You've also got a foot switchable boost on both channels and a level control to dial in how much extra volume you get when you stomp on the foot pedal. And that's really useful for doing a song where you've got a clean sound and an overdriven sound for power chords, and then maybe a louder version of that overdriven sound for your solo. You can essentially foot switch all of those in and out, making it a very versatile amp. And I actually used one of these amps a few years ago in a classic rock covers band that I was in. The other guitarist in the band was using some kind of Marshall head, can't remember which one, but it was a Marshall valve head into a 2B12 cabinet. And being that we played a lot of small pub gigs, all the gear would be kind of quite cramped on what little stage area there was. So it wasn't that easy for audience members to be able to see who was plugged into what, basically. And the number of people who would come up to me at the end of the gig and say, "Man, you got an excellent sound out of that Marshall." And actually, you know, it was the PV I was plugged into. So if you haven't tried a PV Bandit in a while, I'd advise you to go and check one out. They are really a good sounding amp, as I can attest to. It's not a Dumble overdrive special, it's not a Soldano, it's not a Boogie Mark IV, but it doesn't intend to be, it doesn't pretend to be that. It gives you a usable workhorse sound that will cover pretty much any situation, which is what we're after here. So we've spent 130 quid on the Harley Benton ST70 Black Paisley and £350 on the PV Bandit 112 plus foot switch, meaning that by my reckoning we've spent 480 quid. So he's still got enough in the budget to buy a couple of spare cables, well, a spare cable anyway. When the guitar turns up, if he chooses to buy it, I'll look at all of the kind of obvious stuff like action, intonation, etc. If I can get a borrow of it off him, I'll probably even do a YouTube video about it, but you know, I'll kind of make sure it's all set up as it needs to be for him. And yeah, let's all wish him luck in his first band. I'll I'll let him get a few gigs under his belt, then I'll go along and see how he's getting on. I don't want to turn up there for his first gig. That's the kind of pressure he probably doesn't need. If you live on the northeast coast of England and you fancy going along to see him, I'll let you know when his dates are. Also, if you live in the northeast of England and you want some tailored one-to-one guitar tuition, then give me a shout via the details at the end of this video. Even if you don't live in the northeast of England, then give me a shout anyway, because you can also have a lesson via Skype. And yeah, you know what comes now, don't you, at the end of all of these videos. I'll just mention the 2 albums that I've got out at the moment, Handles for Forks and The Whiskey Made Me Do It, both of which are absolutely crammed full of bluesy, shreddy, melodic rock guitar playing, and I just know you're going to love them, so check them out. You'll find a link in the description below. And with that, I'll bid you all good day and see you next time. Bye for now, folks.